Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is our second in a row podcast interview extravaganza as we're gearing up for Undiscovered Realm Comic-Con, which is next weekend, the 29th and 30th of June in White Plains, New York. Over 30, almost like 30, 35 guests that are going to be there. Something for everybody. But tonight we've got a fantastic guest, and I see some folks who had some questions, but I just want to get right to it because this guy, he's an icon. I grew up with him. My wife grew up with him, and I know all of you guys grew up to him. Without further ado, please let's welcome the voice of Lion-O from Thundercats, Mr. Larry Kenney. Larry, welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. How's everybody doing?
This is great. We have a couple of people there, and I'm sharing it out. So Larry, I mean, I just want to again thank you for. We talked a few minutes before. Thank you again for coming and doing this. This is going to be a great event next weekend in White Plains with you and some of the other cast members from Thundercats. I don't know if they've ever done a big reunion like this, but it's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But
I'm excited about it because Peter Newman, who is Tygra, the voice of Tygra, and Lynn Lipton, the voice of Chitara, is going to be there too. So it's the pretty much the three remaining cast members of Thundercats and SilverHawks and TigerSharks and all those things.
Yeah, which I mean, we're like there's somebody commenting here, but yeah, I mean, those shows that they were on at a time period when animation was just like amazing, like iconic shows at that point. Thundercats is definitely one of those iconic shows. But before we get into Lion-O and Thundercats, I want to know a little bit more about you, Larry. How did you get into this wonderful world of acting? I know you've done voice acting. You did a lot of radio. How did your story really start?
Well, I got started in the entertainment business as a radio disc jockey back in you ready for this? 1963.
But good music then. That's great times.
Oh yeah, I was in Peoria, Illinois, where I'm from, and we played, the Beatles and James Brown and stuff like that. And I had always done, as a kid, had always copied voices I heard on TV. Cartoon voices, things like that. And my mother tells me that from the time I could speak, I was mimicking voices, and we all wanted to run. Where am I going to do? What am I going to do with that? I can't make a living with that. And then along came radio, and I was a disc jockey on a radio station in Peoria I started when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
In 63, and I incorporated into my disc jockey show. I was playing records, and commercials, and I incorporated whenever I could some character voices that I made up, some cartoon voices, and impressions of famous people. And I continued doing that all the way through my radio career, which landed me in New York. And then voila, I started getting calls. Well, I had an agent. Getting calls from people to do cartoon shows and commercials and things like that. But I started in the radio. Got
you. Now let me ask you. So and again, growing up in the 60s and the iconic, the music that was there, but to also we talk about the 80s being iconic time for cartoons. Certainly the 60s. I mean, so who are some of your voice actor influences there? I mean, I'm pretty sure I know who probably like at least the top 3 or 4 were, but I want to hear them from you. Who were they?
I'm going to turn it around on you. You tell me who you think they were.
I'm gonna of course start with Mel Blanc.
Of course. The Godfather, Mel Blanc.
Of course. And now if we're talking some of the men, I mean, if obviously you were probably not doing female voices, but I'm sure you were a June Foray fan.
I'm sorry?
June Foray. I'm sure you were a fan of June Foray.
Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, right.
My favorite, and I won't call it a cartoon because it was not a cartoon show.
No.
It was spectacular on happen to be animated. But yeah, June Foray, who
Dawes Butler.
played Dawes Butler. Oh my God. Yeah, those were people who were my heroes, you know, and
Paul Frees.
Paul Frees, Pillsbury Doughboy, among 100 others, 1,000. I mean, those were people that, you know, today, people like me, if we're lucky, you know, if you get lucky, you get the chance to do a Lion-O and or a Count Chocula, a Cocoa Puffs bird, Sonny, which I did for 40 years, both of those.
Yeah.
But there was nothing like those people back then, you know, who they could do a million voices and didn't get paid anything for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's so sad. You think about Paul Frees, for example, who I mentioned the Pillsbury Doughboy, but he was a million characters. And I shouldn't say it didn't get paid for it. They got paid a weekly salary, believe it or not, $150 a week.
Wow.
To do all those cartoons and things. And so I feel so blessed that I was able to, on their shoulders, make a much better living than that, you know.
I mean, and again, the people knew if you're into animation, and I mean, certainly the early days of radio, because that's like you said, you started in radio. All those actors, they started in radio too. I mean, the old shows, like, I mean, Blank was on Jack Benny. I mean, of course.
Yes, of course. Well, now I'm going to be embarrassed now because I can't remember I know who you're talking about in the Jack Benny show.
Mel Blanc.
Mel Blanc, of course. He would go on there and do Bugs. You know Mel Blanc from Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Tweety Bird and all those. But he did so much more than that, you know. You're right. He would go on TV and do not cartoon voices, but a character voices, a million different character voices. I mean, I couldn't even imagine trying to. People ask me a lot of times, Mike, how many voices do you do, or how many voices have you done there? I don't know. I didn't write them down. You know, I'm 76 years old. I've been in this business for 60 years.
Yeah.
I did not write down all those voices, but I guarantee you the total doesn't come up to Mel Blanc and Dawes Butler and people like that.
Well, and also, I mean, the competition was different at that point in time. There was really about maybe like under 10 people who were doing all these voices, you know.
It was a different world. Yeah, a different time. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you said you were doing radio, you got to New York. Around what year did you finally come to New York? In the 70s, right?
1974. Yeah.
And is that that's when you, I guess, broke into doing some acting and voice acting at that point? What happened there that made that shift?
Well, I came to New York from radio.
Mm-hmm.
I was a disc jockey in Chicago, and I got an offer to come to New York, WHN Radio, which was a country station. So I was a disc jockey, as I had been for many, many years. And then I started getting, I had an agent, you know, and I started getting calls. He started getting calls for, because I did a lot of character voices on my radio show. I you know, do funny bits between commercials. And so I started getting calls to go to auditions for, you know, whatever. But at that time, 1974, all the animated shows were recorded in California. I mean, I don't think there was even one quote cartoon show. I don't, you know, I call them cartoon shows. Back then we called them cartoon shows. Now they were animated specials, you know.
An animated series.
Yes. A little class too. But I started getting auditions, go to auditions for that. And that's how that all came about. I mean, my agent called me one day, and I had already been doing like Count Chocula commercials and
Yeah.
Cocoa Puffs commercials, you know.
Also iconic characters.
Hmm?
Those are such iconic characters too. I mean, a lot of those mascots from the cereals.
Yeah, I know. And you know, Mike, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, especially in the voiceover world. I did Count Chocula and Sonny the Cocoa Puffs bird for 40 years.
Wow.
In my business, that's unheard of,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I looked it up, and the next number, you know, of actors doing a voice was a guy who does the Skittles commercials for 25 years.
Huh.
You know the Skittles commercials?
Yeah.
Feel the rainbow, taste the rainbow. And that's also me.
That's you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, funny. It's unheard of, and I'm so blessed, you know.
Yeah. But again, iconic brands. So you were doing Cocoa Puffs, you were doing Count Chocula, you're doing Skittles, right?
Yeah.
So and absolutely right. New York was not the hot spot for. I mean, I guess New York. When you think of New York, you think of radio, you think of theater, right? You really don't think of a lot of television, right? And I know times have changed that, but there's this one studio, in New York, Rankin Bass. And how did you kind of fall into that? So I'm friends. I don't know do you know Rick Goldschmidt, who's like the Rankin Bass historian?
Sure. Yes.
So
yeah.
I know Rick very well, and him and I have talked. Yeah, he's come on. We always do a holiday chat, of course.
Oh,
so
what a guy! I wish I could talk to him now. I haven't talked to him in 40 years.
He does the con circuit too, so you guys definitely got to cross the paths.
He does. Yeah. Oh my God!
He brings all his like artifacts. Sometimes he brings the clay characters, but that's what I'm kind of curious now. So Rankin Bass, I mean, and they obviously they did Thundercats and stuff, but then they did like the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings films back in the 70s. Yeah. But they're best known as Christmas. Rudolph, Frosty, Santa, they're the holiday season, right? So you find out you're getting an audition at Rankin Bass. What are you thinking? Did you think it was for a holiday show? Did you know what it was?
I didn't know and didn't care. I grew up watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer with Fred Astaire.
Yeah.
And it was a Rankin Bass production.
Yeah.
And Frosty the Snowman with Burl Ives.
Yeah.
Rankin Bass production.
Oh,
so I watched those as a kid. And as a kid, that means nothing to you, Rankin Bass production.
You just know it's Christmas.
Now, flash ahead 25 years, and my agent calls me and says, "Hey, Rankin Bass would like to have you come over and audition." And I'm like, "What?" Yeah, they're doing a new animated series, and they would like you to come over and audition. Well, my shock, first of all, was that, as I said, this is my Rankin Bass, you know. And secondly, there hadn't been an animated series where the voices were recorded in New York.
Yeah.
Ever, I don't think. It's all Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You know, Disney and Warner Brothers and all that. They were done in California, like the movies and stuff like that. So we were all shocked. We being the people who were called to audition and then finally to be members of the cast. Yeah. Oh my God, they're doing it here in New York, you know. So it was great. Yeah, I was thrilled and scared to death.
Now we're both Rankin and Bass there at the audition.
No, neither one of them were there. No, neither Arthur Rankin or Jules Bass. I didn't meet those guys. Well, I didn't meet Jules for a few years after Arthur had passed away.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't meet them. We met at the audition. It was just, pardon me. I'm sorry, Mike. I shouldn't say just, but it was the person who was going to be directing the series. God, I can't believe I don't remember her name, Lee Doniker.
Okay.
God bless her heart. And maybe somebody else from Rankin Bass, but then you had the engineer and that was it. And would you like to know how the audition process went?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to take over your questions, but
no. I want to hear the story of how Lion-O was born.
well, it's the voiceover business. So what happens is you go to auditions and do what they ask you to do, and then you go home and wait for a phone call from your agent, saying that you got the job, So my agent called me one day, Don Buchwald called me one day. He says, "Okay, Larry, on Tuesday, whatever, at 11 a.m., I'd like you to go to such and such studio and audition for this new thing called Thundercats. It's an animated series." So you go, and you walk in, and there's 200 people there, and the walls are lined with with drawings of the characters,
okay,
and of other things from the show, like Cat's Lair, if you're familiar with the show, and I think you are. And then there are drawings of individual characters on the walls with a synopsis of who they are, what they are. Yeah. So you wait your turn, and when your turn comes up, the Lee Doniker, the director, says, "Go in the booth, recording booth, and first of all, we'd like you to audition for 2 characters, one Thundercat and one mutant." Okay. Which, as if you're familiar with it, is a bad guy.
Yeah.
So I looked at the pictures and I said, well, the first thing I saw when I walked in was that Lion-O is the boss. Lion-O is the lord of the Thundercats. So I said, I'll audition for him.
Stop.
And the mutant I picked out was a character named Jackal Man.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, you go in the booth, and they give you a little bit of a script of a few lines, and they say, show us what you think these characters would sound like. Remembering that for the actual Thundercats characters, Lion-O and Chitara, they didn't want cartoon voices. Because for those of you who know, the Thundercats were half human and half cat. I know. To this day, it sounds funny, right? But it worked. It worked.
Something.
So I went in the booth and I read a few lines of Lion-O, which was actually just my voice. They told us when we went in, us being me and all the other auditioners, actors, for the Thundercats themselves, there were 5 of them, I think. We don't want cartoon voices, we don't want like human voices. But for the mutants, the bad guys, that's where you do the and all that. So I auditioned for Lion-O and for Jackal Man, who was one of the bad guys. Yeah. So, as is the usual case with auditions, you do it, they say thank you, you go home, and then if you got the job, your agent will call you within a couple of days and say you're working on this. If you never hear from them, you go on to the next one. Okay, I didn't get it, but as you know, Mike, and I think everybody from those movies and TV shows and stuff, that the entertainment business, voiceover, I shouldn't say even voiceover, but actors, there's a lot of rejection.
Yeah.
Any actor will tell you, I went to 100 auditions.
You have to have a thick skin.
Hmm?
You have to have a thick skin.
You have to have a thick skin, yeah. I went to 100 auditions. I knew I was good. And I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about me. well, I did know I was good. But then you have to say, you know what you can do and everything.
Yeah.
But there's so much rejection and stuff where they say you're just not right for the part for this, that reason. Big stars will tell you, I got rejected for so many roles. I had casting directors who told me you should get a day job. This is not the business for you. And that's why I think, you know what, Mike, I'm just realizing I'm diverting, taking up a lot of your time.
No, not at all.
Okay, this is okay.
Yeah, no, this is good. This is what we do. This is we like the truth about this, the story.
Good. So where was I?
Well, you were saying about you were talking about the rejection, and
get used to it. You get to it. Whether it's commercials, I would go to auditions for commercials, and then they say, "Thank you," but no. And then, but something like this was my first audition for a network.
Really?
Animated series, yeah. Like I told you, I had already been doing Count Chocula and Sonny the Cocoa Puffs bird for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
But this was the first audition I had ever had for I'm going to say a major thing that, and I'm sorry to sound capitalistic, but that I knew if you got this,
it was a
you're
big deal.
Make some money. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that Thundercats was part of that, because that's why I wanted to ask you too. So, the time that show had hit, the syndicated market was huge. That's when because I guess what I have the DVD set here of how many episodes. I don't know how many hours are on here, but yeah. So the DVD set, the complete series.
I've signed a lot of those.
One more next weekend. But
that's right. You told me you texted me you're gonna bring yours. Okay, go ahead.
But the syndicated market was huge. It was huge at that point. Yeah. So I mean, Thundercats was just a small, big part of the bigger machine.
Sure.
You had. Yeah. I think really the first big one was Masters of the Universe. He-Man.
Yeah. He-Man.
So somebody just so you know, now make that too, because somebody said I also have the DVD set waiting to be signed. So there you go, 2 people, and I'm sure a bench more.
You don't mean the He-Man series? No,
not the He-Man DVDs. No, no. But He-Man was really, I think, because after school cartoons were just reruns of like the Bugs Bunnies or like the 60s Yogi Bears and McGilla Gorillas and stuff like that, Flintstones and stuff like that. I think He-Man really kind of hit at the right time. And then, of course, then came like G.I. Joe, Transformers, Gem, all those things, and Thundercats. Because I think, if I remember correctly, I was in elementary school. I think Thundercats was not one of the first ones. It was like kind of middle of the road.
Right in the middle. Yeah, you had He-Man, Masters of the Universe,
robots,
Ninja Turtle, Transformers.
Well, Ninja Turtles came after you guys, yeah. But yeah,
all those lesser shows.
And of course, like all those other shows, Thundercats was a 65 episodes of a toy commercial, right?
Yeah. I can't deny that. Well, I won't deny that. Yeah. Of course.
No, but that's why we loved it, because then, like me and all my friends, we went out, we bought all the Thundercats, we bought the He-Mans, so we were recreating all those adventures, because really at that point in time, even like the movies like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, they all had their toys out. Yeah. So this was the right moment at the right time for all these businesses, which was strong, because people buy their Lion-O figures and then come home and watch you play, and then playing with their Lion-O thing. Like I still have my Lion-O with the light up eyes, which is really
God
cool.
Bless you. Are you going to bring it to the?
I could. I have it in a box. I could dig it out.
Now, you have people watching this, right?
Yes.
Okay. For those who don't know, we're talking about Comic-Cons, and Mike's going to come to a Comic-Con that I'm going to be at, and people bring their action figures that they had since they were Mike as a 10-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So
30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. And we, those of us who are on the shows, they come to our table, and we sign them for money.
And which is a nice segue, because this is what I want to ask you. So obviously in the 80s, you know, social media wasn't a thing. I mean, I assume you guys probably got fan mail, but I don't know exactly how that works. I mean, I wasn't writing letters, but I assume you guys got fan mail, whether it be through the affiliates or people like, oh, I'm going to write to Larry Kenney at care of Rankin Bass in New York.
Not so much, Mike. Not so much back then when it was on the air.
But because you really didn't know that. I mean, when did you realize, like, this is something that's bigger, that like you kind of knew it was a big deal going into it, but when did you realize it was something that was bigger than you thought it was? You know,
when we were recording it, Mike, after maybe 7 or 8 episodes we recorded, as we were having lunch, we actors would occasionally say, "This is good stuff. This is scripts are great." And then when the first time they showed us an episode that had been finished, because you see, when you do animated shows like this, you do the voices first, and then the animators, in our case, who were in Japan, they would animate to our voices.
Mm-hmm.
So and then they would add the music, they would add this, and then we had maybe recorded, I don't know, 10, 15 episodes of just us.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the other actors and I were saying at the time, I'm not real big on commercial on cartoon shows, but these scripts are good. These are good scripts. And the music, oh my God.
Yeah.
The first time they played the music for us, the opening theme and everything, we're all like, Jesus.
You're in for action.
It's like a movie.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Anyway, so we didn't really know. I remember when we began after 10 episodes or whatever, saying to each other, this is, and then the ratings started coming in after they sold it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, you asked me, when was the first time I knew it was a big hit?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're asking me this because you read interviews with me.
No, I didn't. I'm
okay, because I tell this every time.
Oh, do you really? I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to diminish your investigational skills. I'll tell you when I knew, Mike. The show had been on a little over a year on the air.
Mm. And
I'm at Toys R Us Christmas shopping. Remember Toys R Us?
Miss it. I miss it.
I do too. Oh my God, how could that have died?
Kids don't know what they're missing now.
Oh God, no. And I hope there are stores that are picking up the slack, but I don't know who they are.
Amazon.
Small town. Amazon, yeah. No offense, Amazon. Have a good relationship with them. But I went to Toys R Us, and the last time I had been there was, I don't know, several months ago. This was 2 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah.
In whatever year it was. And the previous time I had been there was a whole aisle of He-Man, collectibles and so on. And there was Ninja Turtles, and because as you mentioned before, there was a lot of stuff going on, animated stuff.
Yeah.
And there was one aisle of Thundercats, which I thought, this is cool. Oh my God. Yeah. This time when I went, about 2 weeks before Christmas, there were 3 aisles
of Thundercats,
of nothing but Thundercats on either side. And I'm going like, holy God, this show's a hit. So as I'm puffing my chest up and walking down one of the aisles, there were two young guys, maybe, I don't know, 8, 12 years old, or whatever, looking at action figures of the characters. And as I'm walking by, I hear one of them say, "I'm going to get Pantro. He's so cool." The other kid said, "No, I want Tygra because he's doing." I couldn't help myself. I kind of walked up behind him and went, "Hey guys, you should get Lion-O. He's the Lord of the Thundercats. He's the guy who says, 'Sword of omens, come to my hand.'" And they looked at me like I was some kind of a pervert. Looking back now, I can understand why there's this guy we don't know. And they just turned around and went, "Okay." And so I kind of skulked away. But as I'm walking away, I heard one of them say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I blew the story." I said to them, "Why don't you get Lion-O? He's the guy who says, 'Sword of omens, come to my hand. Give me sight beyond sight.'" And that's when they said, "Get out of here." But as I walked away, one of them says, I'll never forget this. He didn't even sound like Lion-O.
Oh my God.
And I thought, "Oh, kid, if you only knew, you'd pee your pants, you'd."
Well,
But I didn't.
I hope that somebody somewhere hears that story,
Me too.
and comes and finds you and be like, "I was that kid. I was that kid."
Mike, I've said that over the years so many times. I hope someday at the Comic-Con or somewhere, one of those kids says, "I was one of those kids." Hasn't happened yet, though.
Because now, obviously this was a Toys R Us here in the tri-state area.
I was in Norwalk, Connecticut.
All right. See,
where I live. Yeah.
So very likely those kids could still be around here. You're at a bunch of shows in the area.
Yeah, I hope so.
And now, because I don't know if where you are in Connecticut. So like I know, for instance, here in New York.
I'm in Norwalk.
You're in Norwalk. So yeah. I know here in New York, it was on the Channel 5 affiliate. It wasn't at that point, but that's what Thundercats was on at 4:30. I remember this very much because that was like the end. Yeah. It was the end of the afternoon cartoons before the news. 4:30, Thundercats was on. So I don't know if in Connecticut it was the same thing, but that's a great story. So now, so you mentioned those kids. So now you have all the kids my age coming up and seeing you at the convention, and that's kind of where I was going. So that's when you realized it was big. But now you're doing these events, you're doing the conventions and different signings and appearances and stuff. I mean, what is it like 30, 40 years later? You've been doing this for a while now, to see all these men and women my age coming up and just like showering you with love and how you've changed your life. What is that like for you now?
Good question, Mike. And I would like to answer it by going back to before I ever went to Comic-Cons. I didn't know about what Comic-Cons were. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I will say that ever since Thundercats was on the air and stopped being on the air, I would get letters from people who somehow, most of them went on the internet, I guess. Well, there was no internet back then. Anyway, I would always get letters. Okay. Could you send me an autograph? And I always would, and I still do. Mm-hmm. And then one day, back in 2010, whatever, my son Tanner, mm-hmm. Who was young and very into the internet and stuff, he said, "Dad, you got to go to one of these Comic-Cons." Had no idea what they were. Explained to me, he said, people like you, stars, celebrities, show up at one particular place, and people come and they pay for your autograph. Go. Well, at that time I said I can't do that, because at that time, when we're talking about the early 2000s, anytime over those years somebody wrote to me and asked for an autographed picture or something, I would send it to them.
Yeah.
I would print the pictures myself.
Oh, wow.
Pictures meaning prints of. I would pay for the pictures myself. I would pay the postage myself. I never asked anybody to send me the postage. This is for 20 years, more than that. And I said, son, I would not feel right taking money for signing an autograph. I made my money from the show.
Mm-hmm.
I still get money for it. Every once in a while, I get a check from, I swear to God, from like Sri Lanka, where they showed 3 episodes and they sent me $10. I mean, that's show business, that's TV. And I said,
I'm going to say, like, because I'm sure you get the checks. Like, you see some actors put online like their checks for like 13 cents.
Yeah,
You get those too.
That's right. And you know what I used to do? I would not cash them, just to screw up their bank's books. I'm just kidding. But I said, and my son Tanner said, Dad, you don't understand. That was 30 years ago. And he said, they have these Comic-Cons where they have these big convention centers and stars, celebrities come there, and people line up and they pay for everybody's autograph. It's because, you know what, I hadn't thought about it, but people collect this stuff now.
Yeah.
And for a lot of them, it's not just a memento. They've got a wall full of Thundercat stuff that they know is going to be valuable someday if it's autographed, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have no problem with that at all. Some of the actors that I meet at Comic-Cons and stuff, they say they'll do things like, "What's your name?" And the person will say, "Well, don't put my name on it. Just sign your name." And they'll get pissed. I'm sorry, I should say. They get upset because, well, I know he's going to sell it on eBay or something. I say, I don't care. I made my money from that show. I do charge them for an autograph.
Yeah.
But if they can sell that and make some money, God bless them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're entrepreneurs.
There you go.
If I could I charge $50 at a Comic-Con.
Yeah, it's fair.
I'll tell you what, when the first one I went to with my son, 2010 or whatever, I charged $10 an autograph.
Oh, wow.
And the other actors who were there, like Batman, who's, I forget his name now.
Adam West.
Yes. Was charging $20. He was charging $20.
Oh boy.
And I thought that's so outrageous. But time has passed,
Of course.
Well, now he's passed away. But the last time I saw him at Providence Comic-Con, he was charging $100 for an autograph.
Yeah.
By that time, I had bumped mine up to $30.
But I mean, the thing with that though too is you're also, and I listen. I think that you come from a place of heart, like you said, and it's the fans. But I think when all these people do come up to you, and you can probably attest to that, is you're giving them a little bit more than just that autograph. Like, that's cool when they sent you something in the mail and you sent it back, but here they are face to face with you, interacting with you,
Exactly.
sharing a story from their childhood. Hey, I came home from school every day. Thundercats was there for me. I had a rough day at school. I was bullied, or I was going through these things. You're giving for that. You're giving them that experience, that connection, that one moment that will always treasure, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I tell my kids, And my kids and my wife know, because my wife comes to some Comic-Cons with me, and she loves to. And my son Tanner comes, and my whole family comes sometimes. And they've seen sorry, Mike, how people come up to my table, as they do to everybody else's table, and they say, "You are the voice of my childhood." Mm-hmm. I listen, not only the cartoons, but the commercials, Sonny, Count Chocula, and all this kind of stuff. And I try to make a joke for myself. I say, "Couldn't get away from me back in the 80s, could you? You couldn't not hear me." But they say that to me that some of them, I didn't have a very good childhood. Mm-hmm. And I kind of knew what they were talking about. Maybe they were abused, maybe they're lonely, nerdy kids.
Yeah.
And at Comic-Cons, you get a lot of people who were nerdy kids when they're, you've been to Comic-Cons, right?
Of course.
There are lots of people who were outcasts in their schools because they were nerdy, they were different. But at Comic-Cons, that's their place. They're the heroes there. That's their place, And I'm so happy for them. And anyway, I've forgotten now what you asked me.
But just about that connection that people make, and I mean, but you're kind of saying it like the Comic-Cons. This is their place, and back when you were doing Thundercats and SilverHawks. I don't want to say it was not cool to watch those things, right? Because, certainly kids like myself and the people watching and these people come in, this was cool, but it wasn't the level of mainstream. It wasn't mainstream like it is now at this point.
No, of course not. But what got to me, Mike, was and still does, people who come up, and my wife will tell you. Oh, I thought she was sitting here. No, my wife will tell you. She gets all teary because there are people who come up and they start crying. You were the voice of my childhood. And they tell me, some of them, that their childhood was not really good. And I kind of know what they're talking about in some cases. I think I was starting to get into this earlier. They were abused. They were left out. They were but they would always say, and this was before the Comic-Cons. This was before 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when I used to get letters from people. Mm-hmm. But when I would come home and go into my room and watch Thundercats for half an hour, that was all gone.
Yeah.
I felt like somebody. And that's why I do it.
Yeah.
Mike, I don't need the money. I'm from Comic-Cons and stuff like that. I'm still working. I still do Skittles. Did I mention Skittles?
You did.
The commercials. Feel the rainbow, taste right. So I don't need the money, but there's nothing like that feeling when people come up and say, "You helped me out, man." Well, not just me, but the show, because Thundercats. The whole reason Thundercats existed because Rankin Bass, the production company. Back in the early 80s, there was a whole thing about children's television.
Yes.
Too violent.
Peggy Chair and children, whatever, act. It was ACT they were. I'm up on my animation.
My mind is blown here because you're right. You've done your homework. Yeah. There was that thing.
Action for Children's Television. That's what the acronym was.
ACT, that's right. And they were right. They were right. Too many of the commercials were violent and the main thrust was to sell toys.
There you go.
And so Rankin Bass, realizing that, because you see, remember Rankin Bass beginnings was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Exactly.
Frosty the Snowman. They weren't trying to sell any toys, right? What toys are they going to sell from that?
Now they sell the toys for that.
Well, no.
Now they sell for nothing.
Well, they do, yes. But you know what? This is over. I'm done. It's not the Rankin and Bastard days. But yeah. I'm kidding with you. But yeah, that was the thing, you know. So anyway, I was so proud of them.
Yeah. No, listen. I think, like, you know, yeah, you hit it on the head. You've made a difference for a lot of people. I just wanted, a couple of people did have some questions for you before we wrap up here tonight. Aaron,
people have been watching this.
Yeah, of course. So someone talking Rankin Bass, somebody said Aaron said, not to mention Larry, voice commander of Wind Demons in Life and Adventures of Santa Claus for Rankin Bass.
Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. Yeah, that was who said that?
Aaron Ogawa.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah. That was a great animated special.
Yeah.
It wasn't animated, actually. It was, as Aaron would tell you, it was claymation.
Yeah, I think that was like the last holiday special they did in that claymation.
I think you're right. Yeah, and we did, when I say we, the cast of Thundercats and SilverHawks, TigerSharks, all their Rankin Bass things. I'm sorry, we're part of that. The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. And which was claymation, as you know, and I know, and I know that a lot of people watching don't know what claymation is, but it's a whole different thing. And I was so proud of that. All of us were proud of that because it wasn't just animated, which, you know, we were proud of animated shows, but this was like a classic, this was such good television, you know. And you know that one of the characters was Sir Alfred Drake?
I did not know that.
You may not know him, but he was an incredible British actor from the 60s or 40s.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar, yeah.
He was the main character. I forget who I played. I bet you remember.
Ours, hold on. What did ours say? The commander of the Wind Demons. So, and if I remember that special,
That's right.
It was called Animagic. Their claymation.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Animagic.
You are a student, aren't you?
I'm not. Yes.
You know, I'm sorry, but can we do another one of these things where I interview you?
Absolutely.
Learn things that I didn't even know. I'd like it, really. I'd like it.
Anytime. But yeah,
thanks to his name's not on my screen anymore. But what was his name? Who asked that question?
It was Aaron.
Aaron, thank you, Aaron, very much. Can we ask Aaron if there's another question he'd like me to answer?
Do you have anything else, Aaron? Aaron wants to know, would you want Thundercats to team up with the Avengers or the Guardians of the Galaxy?
What?
He wants to know if if the Thundercats should team up with the Avengers or the Guardians.
Would I want to?
Would you want to?
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying, were you on that show? And I say,
why not?
Call me for that show. Would I want? You know, people ask me that all the time. Mostly they say, who do you think would win a fight between Lion-O and He-Man?
Oh God.
Well, it's a fun question, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a ridiculous question because Lion-O, I mean, Lion-O would win.
Yeah, of course.
Let me tell you why I know.
But of course, you know, and I think they're trying to. I think there he is, there he is. And I think there was a comic book thinking team up wise because they never did animation wise. TigerSharks, SilverHawks, and Thundercats. I think they did some kind of team up because those were all Rankin properties. So and TigerSharks was you were on that show as well. And that was a weird package. I remember seeing that WOR, the Channel 9 in New Jersey. But they did the comic strip because you were also the Karate Cat on that show.
No, that's wrong. The internet says that I was Karate Cat.
You were not Karate Cat.
No, I was Boom Boom Burmese.
Okay.
He was a big figure. He was like, "Oh boy, karate, we better leave because Big Mama's coming, and she's gonna." I don't know how I got started, but
wow, when you brought me back with that voice because you know, unlike Thundercats, nobody cares about Karate Cat now. So when I heard that voice, I'm like, I remember that voice from the show. I would love those to be on DVD.
And I want to make it clear that Bob McFadden was Karate Cat, and Bob McFadden was Snarf in Thundercats.
Ah, all right.
Yeah.
And did you do anybody in Camp Minimon too? Because that was the other segment.
No, I was not in Camp Minimon. Karate Cat and that show were a part of a 2-hour.
The comic strip. It was because it was
on ABC.
It was Camp Minimon, Karate Cat, and Street Frogs.
Yeah, Street Frogs
and TigerSharks. So those they're like 10-minute 10-minute things.
50. They were each like 15 minutes. Well, 10 minutes
with the commercials. Yeah. So
yeah. On ABC, I think on Saturday morning.
Like early Saturday morning.
Like boring.
It was not one of, again, unfortunately, it doesn't have the love that Thundercats has.
No. Well, you know what? A lot of the stuff, Mike, like people wonder why didn't the 2011 Thundercats series, last. I mean, it's part of it is the business world, It's like I thought that the 2011 reboot of Thundercats was great. Oh, I thought it was great. They stuck to the original, truth, loyalty, justice, and whatever the hell else it was, and the story of it. But it got canceled afterward. And people are saying, "What the hell happened?" Well, I'll tell you what happened. The ratings on Cartoon Network.
Yeah,
ratings were very good, but guess what was not very good?
The toy sales.
Toy sales. You know this business more than I do.
That was a good guess. Well, because then they also did after that. Then they did, and it also did not last long. Thundercats Ho, which was like, and I don't know if you were.
No,
I know you.
No. It was called Thundercats Roar.
Thundercats Roar. Okay. Were you on that iteration as well, or?
Oh,
because you were Claudus in the second iteration.
I was Claudus in the one in 2011.
Yeah.
Yes, I was. I'm sorry. I was in Thundercats Roar, which was horrible. And I played, believe it or not, Jaga, the wise older one, in that. And I signed a contract before I ever saw a script. You know what I'm saying? I figured it's a Thundercats thing, but it wasn't Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And it was some outfit that. So I went to the first recording session, and it was terrible. It was terrible. Well, if you remember Jaga, and I know you do, in the original series, and even in the 2011 thing, was the wise man of Thundercats. Lion-O, don't forget that you carry the burden of being Lord. Oh, this is cool. I'm seeing myself. Lord of the Thundercats. You know, in Thundercats Roar, I was, hey, Lion-O, hey, what do you think all this? It was horrible. I think it lasted like 12 episodes.
I think I saw one of them and I was like, okay, that's it.
That's,
I'm good.
I knew even before it went on the air, somebody posted online the some sketches of it.
Yeah.
And it was that kind of art from like Teen Titans Go.
Yeah.
Which I shouldn't knock because I'm on that right now.
Oh, are you on?
Yes, I am. It was the squiggly little. It wasn't animated. It was those squiggly drawings. You remember that? Little,
yeah.
So thank God that died an early death. But yes, I still. I think they're still running. I'm on Teen Titans Go. I play a guy called Chief. He's in a wheelchair and stuff like that. And I'm also my big thing now. I'm still working, you know. At your age, yes. I'm having a great time doing Pokemon Horizons.
Nice.
Have you watched it?
I'm not my wife's a Pokemon fan. I am not, but I know
Good.
Pokemon is huge.
Yeah,
so that's a whole other fan base.
I was so shocked and so happy when I got the call to do that because, you know, I figured I've done my thing, you know, and people know me from this one of the old guys who did this back in the 80s. And so when I got that call to do that, I was really honored. And the more episodes, we did 45 episodes. We're doing 3 years series, 3 seasons. And we just finished the last one for the first 45 episodes. And they've hired me for another.
Pokemon fans are coming out now.
Oh, there they are.
Look at that. So before you got the role as Ludlow in Pokemon Horizons, how much?
Ludlow. I didn't say that. Did you say that?
That's what they said.
Yes, Ludlow.
How much did you know about Pokemon before then?
Nothing.
No, there you go.
Really, absolutely nothing. I mean, I was aware of it, how huge it was, you know, for the kids and all that. But I had no, you know, recognition. I have never watched it, anything like that.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's rejuvenating for me. You know, I mean, I'm 77 years old. I'm 77 years old, which I don't think I'm about gone. You know, anything, and I feel great, and I'm working out and stuff. But I kind of felt I was actually pulling back to retirement. You know, well, I'm not going to retire. People have always asked me, when are you going to retire? And I said, how stupid would I be to retire? So I'm going to keep talking. I may as well get paid for it.
Why not? Why not?
Plus, I love it. I love working with other actors and stuff like that. But this is a new thing for me, and it's fun. Ludlow on Pokemon Horizons.
Yeah. And it's honestly it's a whole new, like I said, new generation of fans, a whole completely different fan base. Yeah. So you have probably kids coming up to you who know nothing about Thundercats, but just know you from Pokemon, which is
not yet, but I'm hoping. Not yet, but I'm hoping. Who is this person who just recognized?
That was Aura Sung.
Ara is a Facebook friend of mine. Aren't you, Ara? Ara, answer. Are you a
answer for Ara?
Yes, I think because I remember I have 5,000 friends on Facebook.
Ara said earlier that they met you in Cosmic-Con.
Yes, Yeah, a couple of months ago, we were at CosmoCon. You know, I pride myself for one thing on not my hair, obviously, but I have 5,000 friends on Facebook, and I don't remember every one of their names and stuff, but at Comic Cons, people come up to the table and they'll say, "My name is so and so." I say, "Are you so and so Johnson?" But I remember names of people who communicate with me. You know.
Yeah. No, that's.
I can't remember my grandchildren's names all the time.
Let me ask you one last question. So,
please, it's been an hour.
Mike, this is gonna be the question I'm gonna ask you guys all next week. The legacy of Thundercats. Right? Yeah. Obviously, there's been 3 iterations. Thundercats are gonna be around for a very long time. Where do you hope to see the franchise, the characters go towards the future?
I can't really answer that, Mike. I'm sorry. I would love to come up with a clever. I don't know. I would like to see the legacy continue.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, we've all been waiting for a live action movie or some kind of a movie. I mean, they're making movies of all the other, you know, shows from that era.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, and there have been over the last 10 years, every couple of years, somebody on the internet says new live action movie, or even a new CGI movie.
Yeah.
And it hasn't happened. Most recently that I have heard, there was Warner Brothers, somebody announced, because Warner Brothers owns the rights to it.
Yeah.
They announced that they had hired a director and screenwriter for a new Thundercats, but it hasn't come about. If it does, God bless them. You know, a lot of my friends in life and on Facebook have, if they make a movie, you have to be involved. They said, we're going to start a petition. If there's a movie, Larry Kenney has to be involved. Well, that's lovely. That's nice. But, you know, if it's a live action, I don't fit into that leotard anymore. I mean, I do, but it's not a pretty picture. But if they would do another animated or whatever, I would love to be a part of it. But I would love to just see them do a movie like Spider-Man, you know, the other things, to carry on the legacy, you know. Yeah. But if they don't, I know it was part of it.
There's always this.
I'm okay. Oh, there you go, buddy.
It's going to be this.
You going to bring that to White Plains? I will be.
I will have that with me.
I'll sign that for you.
Fantastic.
$50.
$52.
Not for you, Mike.
Larry, this was a ton of fun tonight. Again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for everybody who participated and joined us. Again,
thank you all for watching.
Yeah, and I know so obviously next weekend you're going to be at Undiscovered Realm in White Plains, New York. And then in August you're going to be at Terrificon and Mohegan Sun. Are there any other shows that you know?
Yeah. Well, I have to bring them up on the thing. Okay.
We'll give you a quick plug.
I hate plugging myself, but I'll be at. Okay. Undiscovered Realm, July 25th to 28th, GalaxyCon in Raleigh, North Carolina.
That's a good one.
I hope so. Terrificon in August at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. September 20th, 22nd, UltraCon, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Oh, nice.
Maybe I get a little tan.
There you go. Okay, good play about that.
Oh, look how white I am. Look how pretty. September, I just did that. December, GalaxyCon in Columbus, Ohio.
Nice. Yeah. So you got good shows coming up. But again, like I said, next weekend, White Plains, New York, right? right in our backyards. So, and everybody watching tonight, come to White Plains or come to one of these other shows, but come and see Larry, come and see the Thundercats, get your DVD signed, get your action figure signed, get a print sign. You know, maybe Larry can do a recording for your answering service.
I will. I do that.
I'm sure.
No charge.
so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mike, you really are a pro at this. And
thank you.
Actually, I don't want to. I hate to say pro because it sounds like it's but you are very good at this, and I really have enjoyed this. We've been talking for a
little bit over an hour,
and I've never done that before. And thank you.
No, listen, thank you for sharing.
If I may take a minute to say to the fans, of Thundercats who watched over the years and everything, God, thank you so much for keeping the thing going and everything. If it weren't for, I always try to tell my friends in the business, show business, like other actors who are at Comic-Cons and stuff, some of them are not so great about signing autographs and they take it for granted and stuff. If it weren't for you people watching and coming in, I wouldn't be here talking to Mike. I wouldn't be signing autographs at the end. So thank you. God bless
you. Yeah. Larry, again, thank you so much. And guys, thank you all for joining us. If you want to just hang out backstage for a minute with us, Larry, and then we'll wrap up there. So
what's going to happen?
Oh, well, I'm going to thank you again. Again, everybody, thank you so much. We will see you at Undiscovered Realm next weekend.
So what do? I don't quit this thing. How do I stay in?
I'm gonna end stream, and then we'll be here. So good night, everybody.
Okay. I'm gonna go pee, and I'll be right back.
All right. All right. We gave Larry the full screen.
No, don't do that.
We'll see you again, everybody. Thank you so much. And yeah, come to Undiscovered Realm Comic-Con next week. It's going to be a great time. 110%. Great guests. Larry will be there. The other Thundercats will be there. Ninja Turtles, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Naruto, something for everybody. Has Been Hotel, the new show. Thundercats Ho. Yes, Aura. Come next week. We'll see you all there. Have a great night, folks.